Game 24 of the Premier League season 2018-19 is in the record books, and it threw up some rather strange and surprising results. Fletch here bringing you the Premier League review show for this round of fixtures. So without further ado, let's begin. We begin with Premier League leaders Liverpool, who stretched their lead at the top of the table to 5 points over title rivals Manchester City after a 1-1 draw with Leicester on Wednesday night. 24 hours removed from the news that Manchester City suffered a shock defeat to Newcastle, Liverpool knew that going into this game that a win would stretch their lead over City to 7 points. And they made the perfect start when Sadio Mane broke the deadlock within the first 3 minutes of the game. Afterwards though, Liverpool got a little bit nervy and the Foxes grew more into the game and eventually punished Liverpool for not adding to their early goal when Harry Maguire equalised on the stroke of half time. The Reds went in search of a winner in the second half but failed to get it, meaning that they would have to settle for a point that puts them 5 points clear of Pep Guardiola's side. A little disappointing for Liverpool that they couldn't take full advantage of the City result on Tuesday, but it's still a good position to be in for the Reds nonetheless. They may feel a little annoyed that maybe Leicester was slightly fortunate in some of the decisions they were getting, such as Harry Maguire probably should have been sent off before he eventually scored in what was a very debatable decision, and that they weren't awarded a penalty in the second half when Naby Keita was challenged in the penalty area. But ultimately, it was a below par performance from Liverpool tonight. But all credit to Leicester, stubborn defensively, looked to hurt the Reds on the counter-attack, which is all well and good on one night. But for Leicester, the problem all season has been consistency. Will they keep this up going forward? If you look back on their season form, the answer would suggest maybe not. Second game I'm going to be focusing on contained the biggest shock of the round. Newcastle pulled off a great comeback to overcome title chasers Manchester City at St James's Park. City took the lead through Sergio Aguero within the opening 24 seconds of the game, and from there you feared the worst for the Magpies. However, City were lacking a cutting edge and instinct, and it showed, and eventually they were punished when Newcastle equalised through Solomon Rondon, who volleyed home before Fernandinho tripped Sean Longstaff in the penalty area and the referee pointed to the spot. Matt Ritchie stepped up and converted from 12 yards, a goal which proved to be the winning goal and caused City to lose a bit of ground on league leaders Liverpool. However, thanks to Leicester City, City don't lose too much ground on their title rivals. Obviously, we know Leicester and Liverpool played out a 1-1 draw. But on reflection, it could have been so much different. It could have been different for Pep Guardiola's side if they had won. They couldn't find any rhythm or control of the game and were punished for it, essentially. But full credit to Newcastle and Rafael Benitez on a superb victory here. A win that symbolises that the grave achievement that he's doing at the club. And not just that, but it also makes you imagine how far could he take this team if he was backed financially in the right way. Honestly, Newcastle, their owners, the board, they don't realise how lucky they are to have a manager that is as good as what Benitez is. But the aftermath of this game sees City fall 5 points now behind the Reds, whilst Newcastle go 5 points clear of the drop zone. Our next game that we're going to look at contained another strange result as Chelsea suffered a heavy defeat at the hands of Bournemouth, with Josh King, David Brooks and Charlie Daniels all getting on the score sheet as the Cherries ran out 4-0 winners against Maurizio Sarri's side. It wasn't until the second half though that the Bournemouth drew first blood through Josh King, filling in for the injured Callum Wilson and taking over his goal scoring responsibilities. Brooks doubled the Cherries' lead shortly after the hour mark, and just over 10 minutes later King got his second of the evening and Bournemouth's third. Charlie Daniels rounded off the performance and the victory later on when he found the back of the net to help push Bournemouth up to 10th and knock Chelsea out of a top 4 spot. This is a good win for Bournemouth, who were without their main man Callum Wilson, as I previously mentioned. But it's a big win for Bournemouth and Eddie Howe, in the sense that 7th is still available. I can't stress that enough throughout this entire video. 7th is still available, and Bournemouth are definitely in contention following their early season form to get that spot. As for Chelsea, poor performance, poor result, and I fear for them going forward. I genuinely do, especially if Gonzalo Higuain doesn't hit the ground running. Of course, this could just be a one-off result, but as things stand right now for Chelsea, they are out of the top 4 spot thanks to Arsenal as the race for top 4 heats up. Next we come to Arsenal, who beat Cardiff by 2-1 on what was an emotional night at the Emirates Stadium. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexander Lacazette were the goal scorers for the home side, whilst a late Nathaniel Mendez-Lang goal halved the deficit for Cardiff late on, but by then it proved to be too little too late to pull off a comeback. Result aside though, the football takes a back seat here following the continuing story of the disappearance of the missing airplane that was carrying Emiliano Sala. It was an emotional night all round for Cardiff. It was a good result for Arsenal though on the pitch, made even better with the news that Manchester United also dropped points tonight against Burnley. And as well as that, it keeps their top 4 pursuit alive, and even more good news on the horizon. As of the time recording this, Denis Suarez is allegedly on his way to Arsenal. Whether it's a position or a player that Arsenal crucially need, it's debatable and an open topic for another day. But it was a positive day all round for everyone concerned with Arsenal. And now they look ahead to Manchester City on Sunday, which should be a very interesting tie indeed. As for Cardiff though, missed opportunities, but ultimately no points gained. But like I said, the football doesn't take centre stage here. For them, the result and the performance won't matter entirely in hindsight due to the events surrounding Emiliano Sala. And on that note, it's fair play to Arsenal as well for the classy gesture and show of respect by putting Salah's name in their match programme with the Cardiff squad. So fair play to the Gunners for that. Our next game saw a late comeback from Manchester United keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's undefeated record as United manager intact, and he has Paul Pogba and Victor Lindelof to thank. The deadlock was broken 5 minutes after the restart, and rather surprisingly by Burnley when Ashley Barnes fired past David De Gea. Burnley doubled their lead with about 10 minutes remaining when Chris Wood headed home to give the away side a seemingly healthy, albeit unlikely, and with all due respect, slightly surprising lead. However, United was soon given a lifeline back into the game when Jesse Lingard went over in the penalty area, to which the referee did point to the spot for. Paul Pogba stepped up and converted from 12 yards, but just when Burnley thought they had secured the win, Victor Lindelof pounced on a rebound after Tom Heaton had denied Alexis Sanchez's header, and his shot found its way over the line and rescued the Red Devils a point. It's a good result for Burnley as they continue to fight off relegation. Not many gave them a chance on the night, but they battled well and deservedly came out with something. Although from 2-0 up against the United side, they may feel they couldn't have held on for the 3 points, even if it is against Manchester United. For the Red Devils, they'll be angry that they lost ground on the top 4, especially with Arsenal picking up a win against Cardiff, but ultimately wasn't the best performance, or best game performance, why should I say, and will take the point upon reflection. Although a silver lining from this game is that whilst Tottenham also won their game, Chelsea did not. Our next game saw Everton spoil Jan Siewert's first game in charge of Huddersfield by coming out as 1-0 winners thanks to an early Richarlison goal, which proved to be the difference maker on the night. The Brazilian was picked out by Tom Davies' cutback, and although his initial shot was saved by Huddersfield goalkeeper Jonas Lossell, he made no mistake in firing home the rebound. The second half saw Everton reduced to 10 men when Lucas Digne was sent off for a foul on Adama Diakabi, but despite the man advantage, Huddersfield failed to recover and Everton held out for the victory. In this game, Everton heaped more doom and gloom on the Terriers, that's all that can be said, and their new manager as well, who has now got even more of a difficult task ahead of him, not just due to the loss here, but of course what's happened in other games. The likes of Burnley, Fulham and Newcastle all picked up points in this round of fixtures, so from their respective games and from everything there, it makes the job at Huddersfield that bit more difficult. As for Everton, or Inconsistent FC, it's a good win here for them, but they need to really build up on it. You know, if 7th place is going to go to Europa League side, they've really got to start putting in more of a case. It's really up for grabs there. And there are like 3-4 different teams that are all jostling for position. And Everton could or should be up there, but inconsistency has proven their downfall. So we'll have to see how that goes and plays out. Next we come to Fulham, who staged a great second half comeback to come from 2 goals down to beat Brighton and give a boost to their battle against relegation. Glenn Murray opened the scoring and doubled it within 20 minutes as Brighton looked to take control of the game. But just over 10 minutes through after the second half, and the comeback was well and truly on. Callum Chambers half the deficit. Alexander Mitrovic then put Claudio Ranieri's men back on level terms, heading home before heading Fulham into the lead with just over 15 minutes of normal time to be played. The home side then put the game beyond all doubt 5 minutes later when Luciano Vietto found the back of the net to give a glimmer of hope to the battling relegation side. It's a big 3 points this for Fulham. It cuts the gap on Burnley to just 6, but now they have to build on from here. 6 points when you're at the bottom of the table seems like a tough ask, but there was enough encouragement in both their loss to Tottenham and of course this game here that may give them some hope that the Great Escape can be pulled off. Will they or won't they though? That is another question. As for Brighton, bit of a rough patch they're going through right now. No win in January at all in their 4 games. Hopefully for them, they can have a better February, starting with Watford on Saturday. Our next game saw Wilfried Zaha both score and get sent off as Crystal Palace and Southampton played out a 1-1 draw at St Mary's. Moments before half-time, Palace took the lead through Zaha, who fired past Alex McCarthy in the Southampton goal. Palace held their lead till the 77th minute mark when James Ward-Prowse equalised for the home side, a goal that would later prove to be the moment that rescued a point for Ralph Hasenhüttl's side. In the dying embers of the game though, Zaha got sent off for 2 quick yellows in quick succession as both sides have to settle for a point apiece. Both sides remain 4 points clear of the drop zone as for Ralph Hasenhüttl's side, the revolution at Southampton continues. Zaha went from hero to 0 for the away side and he will be a big miss in Palace's next game against Fulham, which is a huge relegation battle. And talking of relegation battles, Southampton themselves face one in their next game when they take on Burnley. Our next game saw 3 second half goals, all scored by Wolves, allowing them to a comfortable victory against West Ham. Roman Saiz headed home a João Moutinho corner with over an hour played before Raul Jimenez scored a brace inside the final 10 minutes to boost Wolves' chances of a possible Europa League place for next season. A result that was probably a lot more one-sided than many had predicted, but credit Wolves for being very clinical in front of goal. They've done really well this season to get where they are, and full credit to everyone involved. As for West Ham, a very poor past couple of weeks for them. Defeats in the Premier League along with the FA Cup exit of course haven't helped Emmanuel Pellegrini's side at all. Maybe the constant speculations surrounding the futures of big players at the club, most notably their strike force, the likes of Marco Arnautovic, Javier Hernandez, Lucas Perez, that kind of thing, haven't helped them either. But either way, they'll be looking to bounce back against Liverpool on Monday night. And finally, Tottenham came from a goal down to beat Watford by 2-1. Craig Cathcart put the Hornets ahead in the first half, but a second half fight back from Spurs, which began with the returning Son Heung-min back from his short international absence with South Korea, equalising before a late Fernando Llorente header proved to be the decisive factor on the night and take all 3 points from Mauricio Pochettino's side. It's a big result this for Spurs. They needed to recover and respond to their disappointing week in which they got knocked out of both domestic cup competitions, and that's exactly what they did. Son's return was huge for Spurs and it proved on the night, and with Chelsea and United both dropping points, it means Spurs put a 7-point gap between them in third and Arsenal in fourth. As for Watford, their quest for a top 7 spot took a bit of a hit. They're now in 9th, but 7th for the qualifying spot for the Europa League, as I've mentioned numerous times during this video, is definitely still a possibility and up in the air. And that wraps up the Premier League results for game 24 of the 2018-19 season. Let me know in the comments section what you made of the games, who were you supporting, what did you make of some of the key talking points from the past round of games. I'd love to read your thoughts and opinions down below. Otherwise guys, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, or subscribe if you want to see more content like this on the channel. Both things will be appreciated. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League review show, and I'll see and speak with you all again soon in another video.